Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be taking a look at an imposter deck that I made, and this one was inspired by something I started last month before 9.6 and I just never ended up finishing. Now obviously some new cards were introduced and I decided to turn this into something serious and something that I think can be played at a very highly competitive level. And to sort of back that up a little bit, we got the evidence bank here. We got 6 games played, 6 wins in pro rank. We climbed about 50 MMR in these games here, and 3 of the 6 games were 2-0 situations. Now, I'm going to include all these games for you except for the first one because I changed a couple cards that weren't in the final version, so these 5 games are going to have all the same cards. But besides that, solid results, right? Unbelievable results, and I'm really looking forward to you guys playing this deck and getting some wins for yourself because I think that it's going to be very strong. And we'll get into the deck list here. We have Vilgefortz Renegade. So this one on deploy swaps a card from the opponent's graveyard with a card in our hand. So I put it in there obviously for a couple reasons. We can get what we're looking for if we play this late game, but another reason specifically is with Caveat being able to sort our deck out in order, we know we're going to be drawing into the Petrie's Filter. With Petrie's Filter, if we don't have the Damien or the Vachier, it's a really bad card, right? We don't want it otherwise. Now, if they work, assuming our defender Fian sticks, we don't even need Petrie's Filter. So basically what we can do is we can go and we can substitute with Vilgefortz Renegade the Petrie's Filter and get something that's a lot more beneficial for us from the opponent's graveyard. And even if, let's say, the opponent played a defender in round 1, okay, and our defender gets answered, we can still swap the Petrie's Filter for their defender, put down their defender, and just play these from hand, right? So there's lots of possibilities with this card, and I think that this being used for this reason is phenomenal. Now, moving on to Damien Dulator, this card has an order on the melee row, re-enable your leader's ability. So this gives us the ability to make 2 leader charges altogether, and this is also a huge leader, right? We're able to lock their unit, spawn a copy of it, and boost it by the number of enemy units with a status on the row. We're able to give quite a few statuses with all the locks we've got, right? We've got quite a few locks and stuff like that, spying that give status. So we're going to be getting huge point swings from the Damien double leader combo, specifically with this leader ability. So don't sleep on it. And we have Brathens here. It's in here for sheer value, proactivity, and versatility. So basically we're able to copy one of 3 spies that I put in the deck. I'm a real big fan of the Mage Infiltrators lately for the Saskia matchup. We have Emissary if we're on blue coin or just need to really tempo on the opponent, and we have Duchess Informant if we want to copy like a really good engine, maybe to synergize with what we take over with our leader from their side of the board, right? So it makes a lot of sense to have Brathens in a deck like this, and it can also be used to keep something like Vachier alive if we're worried about it getting targeted behind the defender or something like that. So it's really cool for that reason. And of course Vachier sees a locked enemy unit. We have the 2 leader charges that are able to do so, but I also put in the Van Morlehem Hunters, so under no circumstance should this card brick, right? The only way it's going to brick is if they somehow kill it, which is very hard to do in this case with all the ways I mentioned to keep it going, or you play it on the wrong row, which again, that's not my fault. Right? So awesome situation there. Coup just makes sense because we're doing a lot of spying, and you know, there's definitely ways to chip things down too with our pings from Blightmaker, Assassination, Tourney Jousts. We can even put Bleeding with the Hunter if we want to make something a bit lower power. We have the Mage Infiltrators, so if we don't coup something that's spying, we could still chip something down and coup it, which is great. Yan Caveat, of course, I played this in Enslave, I played this in a Masquerade Ball deck, I've played this in this deck. This is one of my favorite cards from 9.6 that they added, and you could see my opinions of this card in more detail on the tier list I put out yesterday, and just love this card right now. Vincent makes a lot of sense. We can get around their defender. We can destroy a locked unit. We can destroy something with a Crystal Skull. It's really good for the coin abuse, making sure we get that round 1 win in our pockets. We can go for the 2-0. So Vincent makes a lot of sense here for Tall Punish. We have technically multiple Tall Punishes because we have the Vanamar, Vincent, and Vachier, but they can be used however which way you like, whichever way is most appropriate in the game. Of course, defender's a defender. Usually you put the battle prep on the defender because we want to keep that nice and strong. And Vanamar, destroy a locked unit. Pretty simple, right? You lock it, you kill it. That's basically it. Blightmakers, we have these in here, super good value. They're going to help us secure round 1. We want to ideally go for getting both of these out so we can push for a 2-0 situation. It's very hard for their opponent to respond when we get the couple Blightmakers and even a Brathens in round 1. You know, even if we're on blue, most decks can't keep up with that whole combination that we have if we get double Blightmakers and all that sort of thing. So it's great. I wanted to put some control in here. I also wanted to put some tactics in here to make sure Caveat works every single time. So the double assassination makes a lot of sense. The Imperial Diplo makes a lot of sense, and the Tourney Jousts make a ton of sense as well. These could be used defensively. These are strictly offensively, and these could be either or. Now, this does proc Assimilate. We're not really going too heavy on Assimilate in this deck, but we can, you know, fish for something that we need, and maybe something that synergizes with what we've taken from their leader. So that's why that's there, and that's pretty much the deck here. I want to get into the gameplay to show you guys here, and I'm going to be doing commentary for each of the games. So play-by-play analysis, what we did right, what we could do better, why I did what I did, etc. And if you guys find the video useful, don't forget to drop a sub. I post videos every single day at 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and we're about to hit a 3K milestone for subscribers on YouTube. So keep that in mind. I also do have a Twitch page, and I'm thinking about getting back into streaming at some point once I work out a schedule. I have a couple goals that I want to do here on YouTube first, but if you guys want to make sure you stay in tune with my streams on Twitch in the future, go over to the channel, drop a follow so you'll know when I go live, and let's get into the gameplay right now. Alright, and for the first game we have Mahakam Forge. It's been a while since I've seen this leader, but dwarves are actually kind of strong, so we got to be careful here. A lot of our damage cards won't do as much if they have armor, so I'm thinking about chucking back at least one of the assassins there. We could use Joust defensively, so I opted to keep that one first. Now, it might not be dwarves, it might be like a torque deck or big carryover deck, so we have to take that in consideration as well. Seeing the hand buff there from the get-go kind of gives me some conviction with that. And there's not really a lot we can play. I kind of want to see if we can get full value on the thinning package damage, so I'm considering playing Caveat first. It's still a good tempo play, but it sets us up for a potentially better play next turn.
I shall not repeat Emir's mistakes.
That's huge. Honestly, if they want to play the carryover game, I think we could play the carryover game as well. I can't remove that because it has armor on it, but we could certainly make our own. And I think because we have double leader, I don't mind taking the first one here. And then the whole plan that surrounds that's basically we can go in with the Duchess Informant, we can make a copy. We have the coup, we can make another copy. We have the Brathens, we can make another copy. You see what I mean? We can get really good carryover with that there. And it pushes them out of the round. If they want to keep playing into the round, they're going to have to deal with all of that carryover that we could establish later. I thought about turning off the defender there, but then I realized, you know, carryover's probably more strategic in this case. We're still ahead on even, so there's honestly a good opportunity just to do that here. And I played the Duchess before so that we don't have to worry about boosting that in hand, right? We want to get that out of the way as quick as possible, and I'd just say go ahead there and take the other Duchess. It makes sense. Get the 3 going. With the Brathens too helps keep tempo here. They're playing a bit more aggro, so we have to kind of match that tempo, right? And that works quite well. If they're going for the carryover here, we could honestly just take Vincent on that, which is really good for it. It keeps us ahead. It gets rid of their carryover there. We still get the hand buffs like crazy, so then we can think about playing cards that are not units to get the most carryover possible on the units and really spread out the points. A lot of points are on that Renegade, so we want to kind of put more on the other thin, but we also want to keep pace here, so there's consideration just to take Blightmaker so that we stay in the race. I don't think it's quick enough if we just play an Informant. Unlucky ping, but anything it would have hit would have been 1 or 0 damage, so I guess that's fine. And surely we go for a 2-0 here. We have a really good Renegade set up in the graveyard with that carryover just in case. With the Resilience, that's what I'm thinking of. I don't mind Blightmakers here because they're a lot of points, but that should just be fine. Here's the thing though, we can just focus on maybe playing Defender first. And no response to Defender, so Damien could just sit there. I'm sure that's fine. If we can't pull off the whole combo, if for whatever reason we have to leave the round, at least we could try to get that leader carryover. So I always like to go down with the Damien first.
Was it so plowing crummy in Nilfgaard?
And to be fair, I don't think we're going to need the Petrie's filter in this game, so I'm actually just going to play Vache from hand, and we can just deal with it like that. And they don't have the means to deal with Defender and Vache on the same turn. I can't think of a card that's going to be able to do that, right? So we should just be good. This is so huge. Okay, we take Defender here twice. And then we can coup that. And just use it for ourselves. This is massive, like. At this point in the match, I'm feeling pretty confident that we're going to get a 2-0 here. The only thing I'm playing into would be like a Yurden. Rover comes down. I feel like we need to play on the same road just because Heatwave's also bad, right? And now we can start securing the round and hopefully getting some carryover into a round 3 if for whatever reason they can find the points. You never know, so got to be careful there. We take this first. Blightmaker finisher is going to be the case here. And I think we go in no matter what all the way here because even if we lose the round, we still have that 4-point carryover, and that should just be fine, right? And we're sitting on about a 20-point lead anyways. Well, 15, give or take, but, you know. There we go. I don't think they have it here. Even with Rover left untreated, we still got them with the 2-0, so that's really good. Moving on to the second game, we have Skellige Onslaught, and there's a couple things looking back at this game that I don't want to use the word proud, but I wasn't thrilled about with how I played, but I'll point them out when I see them. It ended up working out for us quite well, but there's always ways to sort of optimize the play and make it a bit better. So we take that every time, right? Just assassination. And simple enough. Take the Raider too. And because they hiked that up, and I'm pretty sure that if we leader Vincent here, it'll probably give us a round win on even at least. So I want to respect that a little bit here, and we'll just take Vincent for the removal. I think 10-point removal is pretty good in this matchup. I don't know if they're going to be going above that many points, so it makes a big difference. And then we could just play Blightmaker, Calviet, and just kind of some of those a bit slower, well, I wouldn't say slower plays, but setup plays for later. Getting our thins, getting our consistency ready.
A fine vintage it would have made.
And the boat kind of helps out nicely here. We can chip down the Holger, which is pretty sweet.
I love the taste of salt and iron.
So we could 50-50 the Blightmaker, or we could just Calviate here.
I forgive you.
I probably would have taken the Blightmaker if I was to do that again. I don't see a reason not to. But at the same time, if we get the pass, we want to top deck well. Or sorry, not Blightmaker. We already did that. Emissary. I would have just played Emissary otherwise, but it's fine. That keeps us ahead quite well here. And for what it's worth, if we go in and just boost up the boat here, it's probably not as bad for a Morkvarg anyways. I'm thinking about taking Renegade into a Raider at this point, because I see one in the grave, and obviously that gets veterans, so we know that they want to pull that back with something like Fukusha or Herald. Sure enough, we get the Morkvarg out of the way here. And to be fair, this is where I probably should have passed. Unless they use both. Okay, that's not too bad. No, it wasn't that turn. It was this turn where I should have passed. I was thinking about it here, because I believe I play...
Your name, young man, demands you be cursed into an urchin.
No, it wasn't this turn. It must have been next turn. Jeez.
A shame I had no time.
That's still fine. We'll just boost something up, because we know Morkvarg is out of the way anyway, so it's pretty safe to take a Brathens here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's this coming turn that I want to greed the Damien, and I didn't necessarily have to play. Yeah, it's right here. So it would have put a sudden death card up, or they would have had to play 2, which guarantees double last say regardless of what happens in the game. But I felt confident, to be fair, and I felt like we can just jam it here, to be fair.
To my dying breath.
And sure enough, we get the pass. I still have to play here if I want to take Damien. I should have passed here, took the win on even, but I decided that, you know, I'm feeling pretty confident. Our top deck is good. I know that we have a lot of points. Maybe we take the leader here and we just dump Petrie's filter. And like I said, it seemed to work out pretty well, because you can get a pretty good leader in this matchup anyways. And I still think, based on the experience of the first game, this is the second game that I played, but in the first game, we had really good round 2 push, and I was feeling pretty good about it. I didn't want to underestimate it. So, you know, let's go for it really here. And another thing that looking back at the game could have been different, but at the time I wasn't really anticipating as much, is they didn't really take much thinning. I was relying on them maybe not having access to Fukusha, and I was thinking maybe they wouldn't be able to grab the Morkvarg, but sure enough, they knew exactly what to do and they had the card to do it, so they went and they did that there. But I'm pretty resilient here, so I'm just saying, okay, let's just play on here and see how it goes. We still have good point swing with the leader, right? And if there's some way to keep the Vachi on the board, we should be good. And also, there is a chance that if we do play it from hand, it could just survive, right? It all depends on what they have in their hand. Seeing Defender here is like literally a savior card. Like, this ruined them at this point. And again, not my proudest moment with this game, but I thought I'd include it anyways because it shows what you could do in tough situations and maybe when to pass in certain rounds. So last round I would have passed it when we were tied, and we would have had that you know, extra card in our hand, which could have saved us for the event of the Morkvarg taking out our defender, but either way it's fine. I think we just have 2-0 here, because if we go and rip that defender from them, it gives us 28, we put this down, it chips down Arnagod, they have to play 2 cards, and at this point they've played a lot of their big tempo plays. Arnagod depends on us playing units to really get value, and they have 2 cards, and they have to do about 17 points. So I just don't see it happening at this point. So, you know what? I'm not going to argue with a win, but wasn't the nicest game I've ever played. This one was actually a lot of fun. I'm just trying to have some coffee before it gets cold, you know? So for round 1, jousts are okay. I don't mind 1. Don't love the fact that we bricked the second combo for the Thin, but again, we can just mulligan that back into our deck at the end of the round and we should just be fine. I'm looking for something proactive to play here. There's an argument just to throw a Joust down. I don't want to Calviate yet, because if we just play it first, then what they're going to decide more than often is, okay, let's just aggro, let's win the round, and then we'll just go and we'll try to, you know, bleed out everything good that they have. So it was one of those things. At this point, I'm thinking, okay, Enslave 6, tons of tactics. You know, maybe we can discreetly lock that and remove it. Because I actually don't anticipate a Purify here. And because I don't anticipate a Purify here, I'm waiting. And to be fair, probably shouldn't wait. But again, when I'm seeing Enslave 6, I'm thinking like tactic cards. I'm not thinking Purify. But sure enough, they could always roll one off a Diplo, right? And you have to imagine I was pretty upset here. So that's that problem, right? So we have to move on to the next strategy here, and it's trying to get out of the round, and we can go ahead and take the Thin. And you kind of want to hit that armor on the back too, to be fair. Get the extra point, but it's fine. A little bit worried at this point because they have a lot of push. They haven't played much from their hand. Obviously, that's something that makes it a little bit difficult too. I have to respect the fact that they know we played Calviate, and we do need to get out of the round here. So I think I'm going to continue to play into this one. Now, because they stole the Van Morleham Hunter, it doesn't mean our combination's gone. So there is consideration here to go in and to take a removal with the Vanamar still. Because, you know, we actually get pretty good value from the Vanamar, being only 6 provisions. If I can get 10 points out of the card, being 7 removal and 3 base power for our side, it's not all that bad, to be honest.
I shall not repeat.
And so they take it as well, but I think that with this here, we should be fine. And realistically, we have maybe a couple cards that we could play in this round, but we don't want to go all in here. We're really looking for a way out, and I'm hoping that they just wanted to see the Calvia come out here. Maybe they're looking for a pass, so they decided it's enough.
Defeat them with hunger, crush them with thirst.
Normally, I'd want to go in here and Brathens the Blightmaker and take another Thin, but we can't. So there's consideration here to take just the Emissary for points.
A shame I have no time.
Now, we sort of play around a Treason in some regard because we have it beside a shield. In worst case scenario there, we roll a Diplo or we take a Vincent. I think that we would have been fine either way. The third card was a little bit iffy, seeing the Mage Assassin in hand, getting that 2 point plus 2 point wouldn't be a whole lot there, especially as like a finisher for the round. So we managed to get out of the round, which is great. We have to hard mulligan back the brick first. Q's not bad, Diplo's not great. Defender's great. And so this deck is pretty all or nothing, you could tell, because by round 3, there's not a whole lot left. Obviously, we could pass in round 2 and go into a longer round 3, but because our hand is so stacked, normally I like to push. And I figured out in this matchup that Nilfgaard is a tough one to push. And you'll see what I mean here.
Trifling import, you say?
So already we know it's going to be a bit of a challenge here, which is unfortunate. There's not a lot we can do, really. We have to go and play this. And that's probably like the worst thing that can possibly happen to us, right? At this point, I was actually ready to forfeit, but then I decided, you know what, maybe it's an opportunity. We could try it again, right? And maybe what they just did is actually very bad for them, because we have the ability now to make copies 6 points a turn for the next few turns. We can even coup it in order to make another one, which is crazy as well. Defender comes out. That's annoying. There goes our round 3 strat. So we just had to keep making copies here, and we had to turn on the second copy, I think.
I'll defend Qcento to my dying breath.
We take coup first, yes. Yeah. 12-point per turn engine. Let's go. Well, more because the boosts, right? Boost by the amount of status on the row. So right now there's 2 units with status. Or 1 unit, sorry. And it's unfortunate that they kind of see what we're doing here. So I actually thought I'd have the potential to 2-0. But them understanding the strategy and playing around it quite well, filling the row with the Joachim, especially if they do it twice, is going to be a real big problem for us here. So we might have to actually Vachier something that's on the ranged row so we can actually get that card, right? And I'm taking as many Damiens as I can before it's too late. Yeah, no chance they play on the other row. I'm surprised that they just didn't like coup the Vachier. That was like very ambitious because they knew that we could take their 12 or whatever, right? That would be huge points. But I'm not arguing at all, right? We take. We leader. To be fair, I think I should have leadered again prior to clicking. I'd say it's a little bit trigger happy. We lost 3 points because we could have taken a 7 instead of before. I don't think it's going to cost us here, but if we're nitpicking it, that's probably something you want to do. I was just so excited with the matchup that I was playing a little bit flustered, I guess you could say.
Speak your mind. To the point.
And so they start using it against me. And at this point, I know that we are not 2-0ing here. But I'm trying to create a situation where they have to go all in on everything. And I think that that should be enough. Yeah, 71, the order cools down, they have to use...
Vigilance is a virtue.
Gotcha, puppy.
Few poachers dare venture into the Von Morlohem's.
That's unfortunate. Did they have to use Terran over there? Or did they had to use Terran over, but did they have to use Leader? I think they might have been up by 1 point if they didn't use Leader, which is kind of cool. Not like it would have mattered here. We're going straight unitless, guys. And this is where I get nervous because I don't even have any gold cards. They have gold cards and I have none. And if they're playing bribery first, I'm thinking, okay, either the last 2 cards in their hand aren't units, or we're just gonna get steamrolled here. So, looking at what they've already played in this game, they played quite a bit, right? We've seen a lot of provisions here, so we'll just see. And if they're not units, we hope that they're just damage cards, and sure enough, that's exactly what we get here, so we win the game. Simple. It was a lot closer than I think it needed to be, but we're lucky we got out of the second round. Tons of value from the Damien, for sure.
when I'm
Moving
done
on to the
with
next
you.
one, here we have monsters, and I'm going to tighten up the play a little bit more in this game because I wasn't really thrilled about the last two games, but the deck was just so strong that it seemed to be helping us out, right? We got some good plays from what we have. We had some good bounces from what they had, but this one should be a little bit tighter played. And this whole game, like, I'm envisioning, okay, we try and take a Fletter, and we just try and lock and kill the Regis, potentially, depending on what we pull.
A fine
Those are, like, the major threats. But for now, we'll just take a Thin and go from there. It's kind of a big deal. I would say that deserves a lock.
few poachers dare venture into the Von Morloham's wood.
There's an argument to use Vincent in round 1 here because it's such a good removal that it feels kind of bad not to. Vanamar would have been probably a little bit better, but I think that Vincent here is fine because Vanamar is really good off the leader. So I don't mind just using Vincent off like the defenders and round 1 cards that are using like a stratagem or something like that. So that's a good play in my opinion. And Mage Infiltrator gets the fullest value it'll ever get, right? Thrive Engine, token, comes back to our side, perfect situation. Now, I don't know if we'll win the round necessarily, but I do know that we're going to get some commitments here, and I'm going to try and make sure of it. So, we go in, we get the Alp, we put some bleeding on, a little bit of pressure on here. I just know that if they split up their bleeding, we have a lot of units out there, so it could be a problem for us. I think Alps are great cards, honestly, like 10 potential value from it if we can get the order. So that's what I mean here. I'm seeing Detlef's pretty good. Now, I don't think that's something we leader, but I do think in this matchup, there's a consideration that they're devotion, and if they are devotion, they might not have a lot in the way of removal, so we might not need the Petrie's filter, so we might be able to like swap the Petrie's filter for either that or Unseen Elder or something like that, depending on what they play. And it's starting to get away from us here. There's a couple bleeding. I think we have maybe another turn with the Emissary. And if we had to, we could just finish it up with Diplo, so it works quite well. Another Alp here. It's a good play, but it's not a great play. I don't think they're going to want to pass when they have such a good order. So I opt to take this here. And honestly, at this point, you just kill off the Alp. Four bleeding. The whole defender still does it, and I'm fine with that. But we got no one to quit, right? And at this point, it seems like a pretty good time to tap out. Parasite's out of the way, so that's even better for us here. Damien won't be answered no matter what happens, even if they purify Defender. And it's just so easy to know when to get out of a round or when you can push when you know what you're pulling, which is just amazing, right? So that's fine. I think what I should have done here is I probably should have taken the mulligan on Petrie's filter, because I was thinking about swapping it, but I realized that we could have gotten maybe more potential value on dumping that for the Vanamar. But the problem is we don't have 2 locks unless we get the leader down. I mean, probably Vanamar would have been better, yeah. Because that would have been the next card up. This is 7 provision, that's 6. Unless there was a second Blightmaker, which actually would have been a problem too. So maybe Petrie's is fine.
You would ask for this.
So they go for a soft bleed. I don't mind that, to be fair. So this works out pretty well, actually. We don't have the... It's probably the best round 3 hand we're going to get. We don't have the Vachier. We got the Vachier pass off them. But we do have the Damien and the Vanamar. So that should just be enough, really. And I can play that confidently knowing that there's no Parasite. And we take Vilgefortz here because we don't want to play Blightmakers on an empty board if we don't have to. So Detlef's probably the best. Petrie's can go back. There's no use for it here. Perfect. And you know what's really cool about this? Like, it would have been nice if we had this in between Vincent and maybe one of the Van Morlehem Hunters, because we would have had the extra Blood Moon turns. But obviously, to prepare for that's a little bit difficult, right? So we take Blightmaker, we hope that it goes on range row, because right now the 10's our best target. And we take... So last card Regis, we should just win. And I thought about leadering that, but then we get a 2-point card, which is not as good. I'd rather have like the 6-point card. And I knew this was good math. I didn't feel like doing the math on the Regis play beyond what I did. I just knew we'd be able to win with that play, so that's fine. And moving on to the last game of the day, we have Pincer Maneuver Northern Realms. It was really cool that we had most factions in today's matchups. I think this would play quite well into Syndicate, to be fair. Because we have the Vincent for the Savola Frightener. We can take the King of Beggars once they boost it up to like 20 points, right? There's a lot of different things we can do there. But I just didn't get one of those matchups in, which is unfortunate. And so that's just like a really easy lock, right? Every single time we just take that. And to be fair, I don't know if I really mind the drummer boosting up the boat right now. Because it just adds more value to the Vanamar. So I'm just deciding to go ahead and just take the Calvi here. And just get the carryover, because if they keep boosting it up, that's fine. So now we're in a little bit of a trouble here. We could probably just set up a coup. And hope that they hit armor on the next turn. Coup it and get rid of that problem. Then the drummer's back to boosting up the boat, which is kind of nice.
And it's all for me grog. Me knocking grog.
That was a good bounce. They could have boosted the Tridum, but I guess that's good. Now, we're not really going to use that for itself. I mean, we could consider taking a copy of the drummer with the Brathens, but I don't know if that's worth it. I'm considering taking a leader here, though, because I'm thinking that they're doing like a Dunbanner Swarm. So I have to kind of respect that. That's actually a really big play if left untreated. And then we can just go and maybe take our Vanamar here and get out of the round. It's probably going to be a bit of a big spend. But it secures around 100%. And I take this first just to get it done, because we can always pass and play Blightmaker into a bleed or something like that. That should just be good. You don't want to play Blightmaker to it anyways, because it'll be putting more copies in the bottom of our deck if we're boosting that with the full test. So now we got 1, 2, Vincent's great. That's pretty good. Defender is good too, though, right? I don't have a good Vilgefortz at this point, so I decided to chuck it, because now we want to focus on maybe getting our cards to actually work. Now, the defenders, again, something that we probably don't want to remove with Vachier. We probably just want to use Vincent on the defender and take what's behind it. Haven't seen Corvo in a while. I'm pretty excited about this. Like, go ahead and boost that defender all you want, please. Thank you. And fortunately we can let this sit here for points. I don't anticipate anything getting behind the defender and ruining that opportunity for us here. So Amphibious into Anna, that is our win condition here. If you guys see the play, we're taking that. And if I lead her first, I mean the exact order doesn't really matter. But if I lead her first, then we get the boosted one, and then we can pull theirs, which will go to the right side. And that's what I was trying to get at, so that we can boost the adjacent one. So we're in a really healthy spot here, and nothing is protecting the Corvo, which is awesome. So Corvo is going to need a coup here, for sure. And I think that that should just be enough, because they have 2 points per turn, but so do we. If you guys enjoy the video, drop a like, and let me know what you think. We'll see you tomorrow with a new guide.